What are design's role and responsibilities in a devastating war like Vladimir Putin's illegal conflict in Ukraine? And what can designers do to help their countries during and after such terrible tragedies? I'm Alice Rawsthorn, co-founder of Design Emergency with Paolo Antonelli, and in this episode we'll hear from a designer who's confronted all those challenges and more in the past year, the Ukrainian architect and designer Slava Balbek. Slava, welcome to Design Emergency.
Hello, Alice. Nice to see you and hear you.
Well, great to see and hear you. Slava is founder of Balbek Bureau in Kyiv, which is one of Ukraine's most successful architecture and design groups and won awards for its work in Ukraine and internationally before the war. When I interviewed Slava for Design Emergency last year, a few weeks after Putin's invasion, Balbek Bureau had already launched Kyiv Volunteer, a non-profit food kitchen and delivery hub to support the local community, and unveiled design proposals to build temporary housing for Ukrainian refugees when they return to their homeland after the war. Construction has since begun on refugee housing and subsequent design proposals, including a 3D printed school in Lviv and a project to preserve Ukraine's beloved historic monuments. Kyiv Volunteer has relocated to the eastern Ukraine, where the fighting is concentrated, and Slava is now also serving as a military volunteer. So Slava, welcome back to Design Emergency. And can we begin with you describing what the current situation is in Ukraine?
I can say for myself, because I'm for now balancing in between Kyiv office and as you can mention that I have monthly shifts for the front line. So while I'm staying in Kyiv, everything is well. So of course we are used to this well, I can say, yeah. So we do have shelling, we do have sirens, but I think Kyiv is more or less used for the situation, and we treat it like well. So it's not great, it's not super cool, it's well, because there are so many places which has worse situation. So in Kyiv I can say it's more or less stable, the sun is shining, the coffee shops are fully packed with people, there is road jams on the streets, so it's not like it was a year ago.
What are your current priorities as a designer at Balbek Bureau?
Actually, I treat myself as a team leader, so we split our expertise for several groups. I think kind of 30%, one third of our team is continue working as the volunteer team to cover up the social initiatives. And the other third, two thirds, continue working as the commercial team to try to carry up all the commercial projects that we have here for now, for today, and the quantity of this is growing, like I can say pretty stable growing. Maybe it's because of our social initiative, which gives us really well covered by media, like worldwide media. That's why for now we do have so many jobs to do, as well as the social initiatives, as well as the commercial design group. Because comparing to the previous year, it's much better statistics, I can say.
So, still a precarious situation and a surreal one, but you're all commendably continuing to run your businesses, lead your lives. And can you talk to us about the logistics of running an architecture and design agency in Ukraine during the war? And how do you balance your responsibilities as a military volunteer with your responsibilities at Balbek Bureau?
All I can say, it's all about discipline, because I'm a person who live according to this Google calendar. So I do know that I have a monthly shifts at the specific day. I have shifts for 10 days. So I switch myself. It's kind of vacation. So everybody in an office know that I can cancel the meeting, or for example, they're not setting up all the meetings for whole day. So it's fine that I can be as the military volunteer, and I'm still on the in connection with the Kyiv office. I can be on Zooms. I can switch myself for some kind of checking all of some architectural task or be participating in some project developing. So it's just a little bit different percentage of my involvement in those projects. While I'm in Kyiv, it's an opposite balance. So I'm like 80% I'm in the office stuff, and the other part of me is preparing, setting up something that we should do and be prepared for the other shift, or upgrading our techniques and so on and so on and so on. So for me, I was living as amateur triathlete years ago. So maybe this teach me well how should you be prepared for the super straight and discipline, because you need to know while you're preparing for some competition or some starts, so you need to be super focused of something that you do daily or weekly or monthly. So now on, I'm just switch myself from the sport discipline to work-life balance discipline. We call this work-life balance.
And do you have colleagues at Balbek Bureau and your peers at other design agencies who are also volunteering for the military, so are leading these same split lives?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, there's few of them. There's 4 of our employees joined the army on the official ones, official contracts. I mean, me as a military volunteer, we doesn't have the support from the government. We don't have paid salary. We don't have a contract. So actually, we help as much as we can. But we do have the flexible schedule to serve. So I can choose what is the timing of me being there, what is the daytime when I can serve. So it's a support that will help, but I don't have some super straight schedule from the Ukrainian army that I should be there at that day or something like this. For sure, I'm trying to stick for the tasks which I'm working with the official troops, because we have a contact with the official Ukrainian armies there on that sector where I'm working on. So they know that I will be on this date and I will serve for several weeks, and they know that I will help with those. So it's kind of like hobby, as I can say, but this is the hobby that we need to do, like, for sure.
Well, and an incredibly important and potentially perilous hobby. I mean, one of the things that has most impressed the international community, I think, about Ukraine during the war effort is not only its strategic and logistical efficiency as an army, but the flexibility and imagination with which the daily life of millions of Ukrainians has been adapted to sort of allow for the turmoil of the conflict and to enable people like you to contribute while still making a different contribution. And of course, you're also making another very direct contribution to the design response to this terrible war through the Re-Ukraine projects that you and your colleagues have developed to plan ahead for the future after the war, after victory for Ukraine that we all want so badly. So and these have made a massive international impact in terms of media coverage, the interest of politicians, potential investors, and other partners. So could you talk us through them and the thinking behind them and where these projects are now? And if we start with one of your first projects, which was the Re-Ukraine temporary housing program.
Actually, what past year teach us, it's to be systematic and to have a plan, like this plan should be optimistic, and the thing is that you need to be focused on the long-term support, on the long-term distances. You can't be like impulsed to have something, to create some idea and then to release it. You should know that rebuilding and reconstruction right now is how we call here, it's not on the time. So 99% or 90% of the impacts and the funds are focused on the militaries, on the volunteerings, but not about supporting the local communities. And as the architects, we decide to take the temporary solutions as you know, you have an emergency, temporary, and long-term solutions. So we took the temporary solution because usually people are just losing those, that you need to have some temporary solutions to be prepared for the permanent ones. So if you have an emergency ones, it's a giving you a chance to be prepared for the temporary ones. While you're setting up the temporary solution, it's giving you a chance to be prepared for the permanent. So in Ukraine, you don't have a temporary solutions on that much way as we understood that it should be there. So that's why we took the temporary solutions, and then we have a priority of global challenges for Ukraine. So we go from the bottom-up strategy, we go from the people lowest level needs, I mean the person, to the safety of the people. That's why we took the housing as the first part, the first priority thing, took care of the housing and to be the people which been relocated, and this relocation should be covered with their comfort level, with a dignity life, with the something that gives them a possibility to continue living and acting normally. Because we know well that while you're losing your personal space, you're losing as well all the social connections, all your initiative that you've been involved in. And you need to be, first of all, covered with the comfort level of living and the possibility to continue living, still keep learning, teaching, making sports, thinking about your mental health. That's why we call our architecture a treatment architecture. We can call this a treatment architecture because it helps you not only to have a private property that you lost, it helps you to rejoin with your family, reconnect your mental connections. So it's really important to stay on that way of thinking. And all the solution that I should add, all the solutions should be systematics. You can't think about local solution of architecture. You should set yourself to work in the field of the digital architecture or generative design or something that can covers on the level of country needs, not on the district needs or street needs. For example, you can't develop the solution for a house while we can create solution for 1 million of houses. That's why we're working on the systematic level, and we're trying hardly to research and develop in the field of digital architecture. For example, this online builder that we call Villages help us to create 200 million solution only going through 10 minutes or 8 minutes through 12 steps while you're choosing the different design code elements of the small villages. And then you can create it millions and millions on solutions, and then you just can download a PDF and use this PDF file with the architectural projects that you can use for rebuilding, reconstruct your private houses in Kyiv region. Something like this, I mean.
So essentially, this is temporary housing, which are designed in a modular way for speed and efficiency for people returning to Ukraine after the war from other countries where they've been living as refugees, but also for the hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians who've been internally displaced from the eastern area of conflict to the west. And you released the design proposals for these projects, and as we've discussed, there was a huge surge of international interest in them and media coverage of them. What's happened since? How have you managed to attract investment, sponsorship and support, and what is their practical status in terms of construction?
On one moment of the developing project, we understood that nobody believes in PDFs or web pages or landings. So we need to do in one-to-one real-life model to show what it's about to live a comfort level life. Because for us, not the aim to cover all of the Ukraine such houses, but show on a small pilot project, and we actually nearly start building site. It should happen like a half year ago, but the exact situation in Ukraine with the shelling, with the blackouts, And it's really hard to prognose the building site, to make the drive calculations for the building sites. And it's really hard just to be effective right now in Ukraine. But we are hardly trying to continue a building site with this pilot project, which is consists from two different sections. We can call this not only the housing for the 15 families, as well it's a social club, which the physical and psychological help cabinets, there would be the social group, there would be a place where the people can have some new learnings or lessons to just improve their best in the computer languages and etc. So it's a social club for the local community, and we made a deal with the Bucha's government, I mean the Bucha's local authorities, and they gave us a land for free for 80 months. So we will build up those pilot projects. And as a developer, so our Balbek Bureau team, it's not thinking about the architecture. We will build it up, we will use it as we understand, as should be. We will make social research, we will interview those people, and those family will be living there. We need to discover what should be the system of living the comfortable life for a year or for 1.5 years. And then afterwards we will release a report which will be covering all of the social problems and issues and what's about to live a real comfortable life, even in temporary solutions. So I hope this project will be finished. For sure, we are hardly trying to find the companies, the partners who will believe, who is believing in this initiative and why it's so important. So it's not just about to giving a home for 15 family, it's about for something which can cover the worldwide problem of refugees and of temporary displaced people. And now on, I know that Ukraine are focused on this theme, but as actually there is a worldwide problem of taking care of the temporary displaced people all over the world. So it's not just Ukrainian problems. That we are trying to discover.
Have you already been approached by other countries facing similar difficulties?
I believe that each situation is unique because we should live the existing moment, and we know the technologies, the digital instruments, the digital tools, the involvement on the other and support of other countries are different in different conflicts or different disasters. So, and we are really focused in the situation in Ukraine, what can be done. And the only thing that I can say, you can never wait for the end of the disaster of the war to try to be helpful. So, I mean, if we will wait and if we will still be waiting for the end of the war and doing nothing and waiting to start doing something, we will lose a year, because we were taking care of this project more than a year. We start like 10th of the March last year to start developing this project, and here we only starting the construction side. So, and it was a year of hardly working team of 24 people or 25 people. So I can't imagine where we are if we are not started there on that moment.
And it's a huge achievement to have got as far as you have, and to actually be on site constructing. And there are images of this project, including the construction site and all the other projects that Slava will talk about, on our Instagram grid at design.emergency. So you can log on and see them there. Presumably, Slava, there's also an element with these projects of encouraging your fellow Ukrainians to look ahead to the end of the war at a time when the turmoil and tragedy it's caused must often seem overwhelming, and also part of the diplomatic initiative of Ukraine to encourage other countries to believe in Ukraine, believe that it will win, and hence to justify its support for them. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. But I can say that Ukraine housing, it's not the only project that we are trying to be helpful with. So we have the villages. This is the online tool. which is recreate destructed houses in small Ukrainian villages. We already released the recreate monuments, which taking care of covering of freestanding monuments all of the Ukraine. We start with the Kyiv. We produced the first pilot covering, and then there was actually a shelling just 100 meters from that covering, and it stays there. So actually, it was a crash test for this. It's a covering with those project monuments. It's about temporary statics. That a temporary solution should be as well as static. So you can't leave a year just covered with the sandbox, the monuments that you just be loved in. So we develop a project which shows you the proper shell and the graphics over this that can show you the profile of the freestanding monument there and some small info board there. You can understand that the housing, it's not only the project that we actually work, it's one-off there. Yeah, so we are trying to take our concept of global priorities from the people to society, from society for the environment, from the environment to revision, from revision to rebuilding. So actually there is stage, and we prognose our work until the end of this year actually, and we know well, of course we are off the graphical, off the schedule a little bit. We don't have the resources to cover all of our initiatives, but we do have the strict vision that we are doing the right way, and we know that we will never stop until we will finish all of this initiative, because this is the part of the global system. It's not some specific different project. You should think and you should act systematically. So it's something that you can really share with the world.
And another fascinating project that you're working on is a 3D printed school, which is already under construction in Lviv. Can you tell us about that project? I mean, the school looks beautiful, and the use of 3D printing is incredibly impressive because of its speed and efficiency.
Yeah, it's. Thank you for question. Thank you for asking this. This is our collaboration with Team for UA. Amazing project actually, yeah, and it's a super extremely fast. I actually couldn't imagine how fast is this printing, and we developed it in past year, and they actually should start printing this a little bit earlier, but they reserved this printer on the early spring, so they just nearly started. And actually now on, and you have a link to see how it goes online. So actually you can see a daily reports, you see the online cameras, how it's layer by layer it's been printed. Now on it's even higher than my height. So, and it's really cool. So the problem is that you have some specific size of the site, so which printer can cover. So from this project, we developed two parts of the house, which is connected with the glassary. So it will be like one part of the school, and the other part of the school, there would be a one-story building, but it's connected in between with some glossary box. I love this project, and I'm really happy that it's happening here in Ukraine, because, for example, this as well is a pilot project as an answer of the global changes. So if you can like reserve this printer or buy this printer, and then you can print out the schools for a month, for sure this is a good solution as an option. I mean, for sure, first of all, you should think of renovating those schools that been damaged. But if it will be necessary and you have a like blank site, you can use this technology, because it's pretty amazing. Everybody is waiting what's going on, what will be next, how they will use it, what's about the heating there, and other questions, other issues, is construction issues. But this is the future, as I can say.
It is indeed. And so what do you think its benefits are? For example, what is its impact on the time taken for construction? By how much does it speed it up?
I think I'm the realist, yeah, and so I would like to see the finished project. So now on, it's a prognose. Now on is the hope that everything will be fine. So let's see how it goes, and the statistic will tell us afterwards when it will be started. when the kids will be studying there, when it will be a hot summer, cold winter, etc. And then after this, we can say, okay, this is the good solution or it's a bad solution.
So what other new projects are you working on right now?
If the answer should cover the social ones, we just talk about them. So and them took so much time to work on, because while you have no finance there, our bureau is covering by ourselves, and actually all the employees on all the groups is the employers of Balbek Bureau. And we are working only for donates or some local sponsors. But the commercial ones, for example, I don't know. Actually, there's also another commercial ones. I just nearly come back from the Antarctica, where we set it up the installation, home memories, a month ago. But actually, for me, it was a kind of dream. I was working there for 1.5 months. It was on February. I was traveling across the world. It's the farthest point where the people can be on Antarctica, and there is Ukrainian research base, and they asked us to develop some kind of sculpture or art installation around the old shipping containers, oil tanks containers. And actually there was a concept with some profile as home, like symbol of the Ukrainian home, small homes. It was produced a year ago, and it was delivered there by icebreaker ship a year ago, and I had a tickets on the March 2022 to go there to set up this installation. But for sure, for the reason of full-scale invasion, we canceled the trip, and only a year passed after the year we decided to go there and to finish the job, because all the parts of this house were laying there and stored there for a year. So we did it. Actually, it was super. It was amazing trip. You were living like in a dream. You're waking up on the island. You see the whales. You see the penguins, and you feel yourself like on a different planet, something like this. But we finished this, and the first day when we just come back to Ukraine, I forgot all the project, because it was like a dream.
And I mean, it must be such an extraordinary experience to go there. Everyone I know who has says it's so beautiful and, as you say, different in unimaginable ways. Now, you've also been experimenting with digital technology and with artificial intelligence in terms of the reconstruction of Ukraine after the war, and you've developed a specific tool to help designers, architects, developers and citizens to visualize what can happen. Can you describe this for us?
This is the earliest phase of developing this tool. So the concept is, if you have some destruction area or destruction region, you just make a photo, and then the AI will generate you based on some methods. For example, the exterior architecture, or the architectural context of the building, or the design code of the street, or the year of the architecture which you are trying to recreate. And then it will generate several options which would be like based on this design code that we are setting up with all these methods. We are really, it's the hardest project because we don't have any of like experience in this digital architecture or AI technologies, and we are really learning right now. So we set up a team which is like contacting with all these companies who is having experience on those. For me, it will give how can I say? Is to give you a possibility to believe that something is there, something in future, so you can vision the future through this iPhone, I don't know, computer, because now on people in Ukraine don't know what is about for the strategy of reconstruction, what will happen there. They are continuing living in halfly destructed building or halfly destructed living block. So, and nobody tell them who will be the architect, how you will visualize the solution. So, but if you have a chance to see through, like to open your mind and to see, based on AI technologies, how specifically region or specifically house will looks like, maybe you can save this image and it will warm your heart some time, and it will help you to believe that it will come someday, because each action starts from the vision. While you have the vision, you can just collaborate with your neighbor and start painting or building or fixing. While you don't have it, you are just waiting. And now on, millions of Ukrainians are waiting while the country is fighting with the enemy, you know, so.
Sure, and also I'm sure it's applicable to other countries where there have been other tragedies that have led to mass destruction, like the terrible earthquakes in southern Turkey and northern Syria.
For
Now,
sure.
if we could talk more generally about the long-term challenge of redesigning, repairing, and reconstructing Ukraine's infrastructure after the war, it's obviously a gargantuan challenge. The World Bank recently estimated that it'll cost over 400 billion US dollars to address the damage simply caused during the first year of the war, and that the full process of reconstruction and recovery could take up to 10 years. Now, I realise that this is an exceptionally complex and challenging situation, but what for you are the key priorities?
I don't really have an answer right now. Unfortunately, I mean, we're trying to. We understood that we shouldn't spread ourselves all the problem of reconstruction or rebuilding or strategy for rebuilding. We set up ourselves for some really straight, how can I say, the priorities for ourselves, and we're trying to stick by them.
You are part of a very dynamic design and creative community in Ukraine, and one of the few advantages of the terrible challenges created by the war is that it has given an opportunity for the Ukrainian design industry to prove its skills, its talent, its vision to an international audience. Are there any projects by other Ukrainian architects and designers that you particularly admire?
Yeah, I know that the Rosquit initiative led by Oleg Drozdov is really working on the really cool analytic of something for the reconstruction. And my friends, Alex Shevchenko is working with Restart Ukraine as well. They keep working as we are from the first days, and we like working side by side. I know well what's going on there. So there's lots of them. It was much more on the very beginning because people were really involved in those. So that it was the like survival strategy reaction. People was trying to act and to be helpful. Then it was a gap, a little bit lower level of initiative, and now on it's becoming again because people feel safe. They set up themselves in a safe place. They set it up the office. They cover all this first priority needs. So people are coming back for to be helpful in social initiatives, and it's good. And actually, you can see like monthly more and more initiatives.
I am sure. And of course, there is tremendous support for Ukraine at this tragic time within the global design community. So, from a practical perspective, what can we do to help?
We need an option A, B, C, D, and F. So that's why we need to have the other vision from the other countries for the alternative strategy, for alternative solution. We need to have an options to choose what is the best way. So it's not about to ask. It's about and wait for some request. It's about to give a solution with no asking for. I mean, if you have a good idea and you know how to be helpful, just take your time and then make the solution and deliver it to Ukraine. And it will be amazing that one day somewhere it will be helpful. It's better to have 100 options and choose one of them than have two options and choose one of the two. So that means the design community should never stop, should continue working, should continue research and develop, trying to be helpful. It's not only about design community. I really believe on the digital technologies and digital tools, because it will help you, it will save your resources, it will save your time. And with these online chatbots, it can be really helpful. Just people need to discover this and to continue working on this, because the war, it's still going on there, and the best impact will be after the war, when the sponsor or will believe that the investments in Ukraine are safe, so we can build right now, we can reconstruct it right now. Right now, it's not much people are believing that investments in Ukraine right now is safe, because what will be if you will rebuild a school and the next day it will be shelled? So that means that you should continue working on the digital level.
Okay. Well, Slava, thank you so much for coming back to talk to us on Design Emergency at such an intensely challenging time for you and your compatriots. I know you're going back to the front line in a couple of days, and it's been so inspiring to see how courageously and resourcefully the whole Ukrainian design community has responded to this war. So the deepest respect to all of you, and to everyone who's listening, thank you very much for joining us. You'll find images of the projects that Slava has described on our Instagram feed at design.emergency, and we look forward to welcoming you back to Design Emergency very soon, when we'll be talking to another remarkable force in design now and in the future. Thank you, Slava, and Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава. Thank you, Alice.